Welcome to a very special place. This is the LaPointe-Krebbs House in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Built in 1757, it is the oldest building in the entire Mississippi Valley. It has a story to tell. In fact, these walls can talk. They speak French and Spanish and Creole. They tell the story of a family growing through the years. They tell the story of evolving technology and construction techniques.
There's a lot that's special about this wall. Number one being, as you can...
But these walls need help. So do the rafters and the roof and the floor. They are being cared for by skilled craftsmen who are preserving what they can and restoring what they need to in order to allow these walls to continue telling their tales.
So preserving this is preserving us. This is our built history.
These craftsmen have crazy skills and know some crazy science. They will talk about the difference between pit sawn and sash sawn wood because those techniques define different ages of the house. They will talk about bussillage and tabby walls with a passion because each technique dates a different part of the house.
The changes that it went through, the techniques that are still exhibited in the house are all extremely rare, especially for the Gulf Coast. This is the only remaining tabby structure on the entire Gulf Coast from Florida to Texas. The only tabby structure still standing. And bussillage is rare in itself as well. And this house, out of necessity, has both of these techniques. As the family expanded, the house expanded. As new technologies came in, they used those new technologies. It's something very special to have, you know, both of these very rare techniques in one place. I mean, it's almost mind-boggling.
And while that may seem like nerdy historic talk, it's not.
It's way cool.
So it's something that not only helps you to kind of learn about a time that we don't really have a lot of examples from, but you can touch it. You can actually see it with your own eyes.
And the people behind this restoration project are dedicated and smart.
This is just diatomaceous earth.
Diatomaceous what?
Which, for those out there that don't know what that is, it's fossilized diatoms.
Okay, is that going to be on the test?
They are highly skilled and they're very possessive. That's what you want in the craftsmen on a project. You want them to very early on start referring to the property as their building.
And they can tell you about the science behind turning oyster shells into concrete.
But it starts as calcium carbonate, and then when it's burned, all the oxygen out of it, it becomes calcium oxide. And then you reintroduce water to it, which is your oxygen, and it becomes calcium hydroxide. And once the water evaporates back out of it, then it's back to calcium carbonate, which is what causes it to set up.
It's fatter and fatter. Yeah.
The attention to detail is one of the things that makes this restoration project special. And a piece of wood known on the site as the magic beam is a perfect example.
It's original to this gallery. When this gallery went in, this guy was one of the original members of it. So that's what makes it particularly important to us. It was heavily damaged by termites, moisture, and just neglect, you know. It was basically hollow. Paint was holding it together. So you can barely see the top of this flitch plate. And it runs the entire length of this guy all the way out to the tail. And it's 3/8 by 4-inch stainless steel, 3/16 stainless steel. That's what gives this guy its structure back. Now gravity is not my friend on this guy, so I've had to do this as a, you know, keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it. Now I don't work on it every day, it depends, because I got to stay ahead of the guys with other epoxy work so that we can do windows and things like that, and I just get to it when I can. But I spend usually 4 to 5 hours at a time when I'm working on it, and you can only go so far, and then you stop. You got to let all this cure out, then you go back over it. Anything that was completely gone, like that tail was basically gone. There was hardly anything left of it. So I'm having to make it up out of epoxy. So it's a process of, you know, you just keep messing with until it looks right, you know, and you put some deep, heavy lines in it to give it a shape and a form, and then you go back over it, and you even that out a little bit and make it a little more subtle. You stand back, you mess with it some more, and like yesterday, I did this part right here. You see how deeply textured it is? Because I want it to look old. So you get the wood grain. It's a lot like watching paint dry, I'm sure.
We're responsible for making sure a historic resource like the LaPointe-Krebbs House is passed on to the next generation.
And here's where this becomes really important.
Bousselage.
Bousselage, okay, very good.
The interpreters at the LaPointe-Krebbs House bring this history to life and a spark to children's eyes.
Mississippi, keep rolling along. Go Mississippi, we're singing your song. Go Mississippi, you cannot go wrong. M-I-S-S. They would wash down.
We want to share the unique history of the LaPointe-Krebbs House with the children of South Mississippi and beyond.
To brush on and make it look like
You can make financial arrangements so that it carries forth for generations, but you can only educate the next group coming up. You have to instill in them that responsibility. Hopefully that works. Sometimes it doesn't. There are many stories of preservation efforts that just didn't carry on. People lost interest.
The LaPointe-Krebbs Foundation wants to make sure that people don't lose interest in this unique piece of history in our own backyard. We have spent years preserving and restoring the building, and we want to continue to share its story for generations to come.
There's only one oldest building in the Mississippi Valley, and you're looking at it. If this doesn't warrant funding, then what historic building does? I mean, you don't get older than that.
If you want to help ensure the building remains for future generations, please make a donation or join the LaPointe-Krebbs Foundation. Here's how you can help.